Welcome to the kill-death ratio, where I count all my kills and all my deaths. Today, I'm playing Resident Evil 7. Released in 2017, executive producer Jun Takeuchi made the decision to return the franchise to its survival horror roots. Taking inspiration from The Evil Dead, he aimed to make it a much smaller scale, intimate horror game set within a confined location with a small cast of characters. It became the first game in the mainline series to utilize first-person perspective and was the guinea pig for Capcom's brand new RE engine that has gone on to help create some incredible games in their flagship franchises. Even though the second half isn't quite as strong as the first half, this game delivers one of the best horror experiences out there. How many kills does Ethan Winters earn in his first foray into Resident Evil? Let's find out. I select normal difficulty and we open with a video of Ethan's wife Mia Winters telling us she's so happy to be coming home from her babysitting job. But then it zooms out and a much less happy Mia tells Ethan she hates children now and to stay away. We cut to Ethan chatting with someone on the phone while he drives to Mia's last known location in the fictional parish of Dolby, Louisiana. The opening of the game was originally supposed to be a 15-minute taxi ride instead of the quick intro we get here. I'm really glad they made that decision because that would have been a drag during replays. We find out 3 years have passed since Ethan has heard from Mia, and we switch to a first-person view where I'm taken aback by that ugly-ass wooden dashboard. Our way forward is blocked by a tree, so we step out and head up the path towards a derelict house locked behind a gate and a non-functioning intercom. Not to be deterred, Ethan takes the back way around, whereas I'd personally get back in my car and drive as far away from here as possible, especially after catching a glimpse of this shit. We bypass some crows and whatever the hell this thing is until we locate Mia's bag and ID next to a dwindling pyre. Whoa! Not needing an invitation to enter, we step into the guest house where the door closes behind us. Not fussed whatsoever, we continue on to get a glimpse of what's for supper. For our appetizer we have nuked crow wings. The main course is a succulent gray matter and intestine stew with a side of cockroach. And for dessert, we get to lick the slime out of the fridge. Wait, why is there a box of spaghetti in there? We note the newspaper detailing a rise of missing people within the area and head upstairs where I locate the first save point and pick up a videotape. Since the button up here doesn't work, I head back down the stairs and into a room littered with photos. One that looks like Mia without her pants on. God damn it, I knew something was up here. Why'd I even come out here? This damn place doesn't even let me play the piano. I guess I'm just gonna pop this tape in and chill out a bit. Instead of forcing us into a cutscene, these videotapes are controllable experiences. We take over as Clancy Jarvis, the cameraman for a paranormal crew exploring the same exact house Ethan is in roughly 1 month after the events of this tape. Andre Stickland and Peter Walken bicker back and force their way inside. As we enter, we get a little backstory about the family that was living here. Now missing for 3 years at this point, but this stew is looking fresher than that. Ooh yeah baby, just letting that flavor marinade. We continue exploring the kitchen when Andre suddenly disappears. We hear a noise in the room Ethan is watching this tape in right now and enter, finding a pulley that opens up a trap door to our right. We duck into the crawl space and climb down the ladder where Andre is creepily standing by a wall in a clear nod to the Blair Witch Project. I approach to find out he's being propped up by a pipe that was forced into his mouth and he falls on top of me, trapping me as someone else approaches and the tape ends in screams. I open up the same door and climb down the ladder where thankfully no one is waiting for me. I wade through some water and eventually find Mia locked behind a cage. I search the area around me for a way to open it and end up finding a note with several names showing either dead or turned, with the paranormal crew being the final 3 names on the list. Clancy returns as a playable character in the DLC, showing the dude went through absolute hell trying to survive the Baker family's madness. I find some bolt cutters and use those to open up Mia's comfy little room, who looks real confused to see Ethan.
Daddy's coming. We need to go.
Daddy?
Damn it, man, I knew it. I'll leave you here with your new daddy, I guess.
We need to get out of here first.
Fine, but you got a lot to answer for. Mia isn't aware that 3 years have passed and claims she never sent us the message with her location. She leads us to a room and freaks out that there isn't a door where she remembers it. As she rests, I wander into the next room over, admiring the creepiness of these dolls, when Mia suddenly screams out and disappears after an off-screen scuffle. I follow the noise and explore upstairs as the rain pours outside, and just when I head into the bathroom to drop a deuce, someone begins knocking on the door. I open it as faint breathing comes from the darkness, and moments later Mia comes crawling up the stairs like Samara Morgan. Man, I knew I shouldn't have watched that videotape. She tosses me backwards and begins attacking me with a knife, stabbing right through Ethan's hand in the first of many hand mutilations Ethan will experience. After a few intense seconds of that, Mia seems to turn back to normal, shouting about someone inside of her head, then starts banging her head against the wall and faints. Moments later, angry Mia returns and we begin our first real fight of the game. I grab the nearby fire axe and plant it right into her neck. She falls, but isn't dead yet because something real fucky is going on in this house. The phone rings, and on the other end is a woman named Zoe, who points me towards the attic as my way out. I use the bolt cutters on the door by the kitchen to grab a missing fuse, place that in, and head towards the stairs when Mia jumps us again.
No, you didn't mean to hurt me.
You shouldn't have done that! It fucking hurts!
She stabs a screwdriver through our hand to keep us in place, then straight up cuts my hand off with a chainsaw. Oh my god! She walks off muttering about burning it all down, so I use the time to pick up my hand and open up the stairs to the attic. Up here I find a gun that comes in handy immediately when Mia cuts her way into the attic using her chainsaw, forcing another close quarters fight with my deranged wife, who has the audacity to say she loves me as I pump her full of bullets. I attempt to leave the room when I'm jumped in the warmest of ways.
Welcome to the family, son.
I come to as a woman tells me not to die while stapling my hand back on. Then I nod off again and wake up to this disgusting ode to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Eat it. It's good.
Dumb son bitch wasn't no good if it hit him.
Marguerite storms out when I refuse to eat what's either calamari, a pig anus, or worse. The phone rings, leaving me with creepy-ass Meemaw, but her stench is stronger than the slop on the table, so I wriggle out of my chair and begin searching for a way out. Jack Baker blocks my way in the hallway and chases me back into the kitchen. Then Kool-Aid Man's his way through the wall in one of the most memorable scares of the game. I grab a key at the end of the hall and open up the trap door and sneak my way under the floorboards into my first safe room. Resi 7 has one of the best safe room themes thanks to composer Akiyuki Morimoto. It matches the southern gothic tone of the game in a simple and subtle way while allowing me to finally take a breath in this godforsaken house. Zoe calls me again and says that the main hall should have a way out and that the codex on my wrist is important, making me realize that Zoe was the one stapling my hand back to my arm. I exit the safe room and head down the hall to see a deputy looking in the window. He's here investigating the missing people in the area, but he's mistrustful of Ethan, saying he seems to have some screws loose and that he'll meet me in the garage. Ethan shoots his shot and asks for his gun, and instead gets handed a pocket knife.
What am I gonna do with a knife?
This! Hi-ya! I enter the garage to meet the deputy, only for Jack to come up behind him and take a little off the top. While Jack wails on his body, I quickly snatch his gun off the ground and yoink the car keys nearby, then hop in the vehicle and use that to slam into Jack a few times before he rips the roof off like a sardine can and sends us hurtling into some steel beams where he gives himself a proper neck adjustment. Jack recovers and steps out of the car, but goes down again when it blows up, just to surprise me right before climbing the ladder.
You're about to see some wonderful.
Despite half his head ending up on the garage floor, that's not the last we'll see of him, so I climb to the second level and grab the piece to open the doors to the main hall. While ransacking this shithole, Zoe gives me a ring again to provide a vote of confidence while letting me know that Jack is her father and that I need to find 3 dog heads to leave the house. Thankfully not actual dog heads. I grab the first one by swapping the pendulum from the clock in the main hall into the kitchen one. I note a picture of a girl named Evelyn who has been referenced a couple times already, then say what up to grandma before heading into the next area over where I can spy on Mama Baker angrily talking to herself, clearly still pissed about my refusal to eat her garbage food. I find the second dog head and a note referencing an abandoned ship in the bayou near the Baker residence, then insert a videotape into the VCR to witness an explanation from Mia. She claims she wasn't the one that attacked me but is cut short by Marguerite. We take over as Mia running away from that scary ass lady. Most of the tape is spent ducking behind cover and sneaking out at the most opportune times until eventually we enter a crawl space where Marguerite captures her regardless in a nod to the ending of the Spanish film Wreck. I continue exploring as Ethan and enter the bathroom down the hall, unplugging the drain in this bathtub and pick up a statue that's no doubt covered in the black gunk from the tub. Upon leaving the shitter, Jack Baker enters, picking Ethan up by his throat and giving us a good look at his head reforming. He tosses me backwards, saying his little girl gave him Wolverine powers, but frankly he can fuck off while I run my frightened butt back to the safe room. After gaining my composure, I leave the safety of the room, only for Jack to completely wreck that by coming after me again. Eventually I'm able to gain access to the main hall, but before I can start the shadow puzzle, Jack comes back, forcing me to hide around the corner until he gets bored and saunters off. Once the puzzle is complete, it opens a crawl space for me to enter where Jack won't follow.
Who builds this shit?
I've been asking that since Resident Evil 1, my man. I pick up the items in the next area and access a room covered in the same black stuff from the bathtub upstairs. This is where I encounter the first of the molded. They behave somewhat similar to zombies, shambling around trying to take bites out of me, but ultimately falls to a handful of headshots for my first official kill nearly 2 hours into the game. I'm about to gain some more by entering one of the creepiest sections in the basement. A couple more pop out and quickly get shot down, but the fourth one scared the piss out of me. After obtaining obtaining the scorpion key, it busts through the ceiling, and you can see the exact moment it made me jump. Nonetheless, it's quickly killed and added to the count. I wind up inside the morgue, and after a brief puzzle I release a variant called the Bladed Molded that wields a large sword appendage that ain't shit because I treat it like any other and add it to my total. I pick up the key to the dissection room, but before I go in there, I have a shotgun to go grab. I run back to Meemaw's room and grab the broken shotgun inside when Jack spots me from the window, prompting another chase.
Hello there. How you been?
I can't overstate enough how great the Baker family are as antagonists, with Jack Brand as Jack and Sarah Coates as Marguerite in particular being standouts, but that's not to downplay the performances of Jesse Pimentel as Lucas, Katie O'Hagan as Mia, and Todd Soley as Ethan. Once I lose Jack, I replace the working shotgun with Grandma's broken one, and then head back into the basement where I bump my kill total up to 10 by taking on more of the molded. I use the dissection room key and attempt to grab the final dog head, but Jack snatches it away, completely unaware of Ethan's presence, while grumpily rambling on about how he's supposed to be some girl's father, alluding to this girl wanting me to be her father. Jack, my brother in Christ, that is all you. I take a quick peek at the deputy's mold-covered corpse and proceed upstairs where I finally grab hold of the third dog head, but relief is very short-lived when Jack turns me around and boots me like a Persian messenger into the pit below. He jumps down and commences our second fight. After dealing enough damage, he walks over and grabs his scissor chainsaws using Ash's iconic line. What's not so groovy is my inventory is full, preventing me from grabbing the regular chainsaw, which leads to my first death of the game. The next time around, I come prepared and put the chainsaw through Jack's head and eventually down him in explosive glory.
Do me a favor and stay dead.
Bad news, Ethan. Did you see the kill graphic? No? Okay, then you know what that means. I emerge from the basement listening to Granny's tired humming. Hey, shh! Out in the main hall, I place the final dog head on the door, opening it up and heading out into the yard. The Baker family was originally going to have a dog as well, which would have made for some interesting moments if it wasn't cut. The Bakers are scary enough, and having a molded canine would have been fucking terrifying. I bust into the trailer, grabbing some bras, when Zoe calls again to say stop touching her shit and to find a serum that will heal the contamination within her body and Mia's. But I need to go to the old house where Mama Marguerite awaits. I head in that direction and enter the house, cosplaying as an exterminator as I kill the first of Marguerite's bugs. You can recognize right away this was the same place Mia was hiding out during her attempted escape in the videotape we watched earlier. Following the same path shows us the shadow puzzle, but this time there isn't a statue we can use. Nearby is a handle for a burner, which will come in handy soon, and a backpack that allows me to carry more shit since my pants have ladies' pockets with no carrying capacity. I continue onwards into the bug-infested house, swinging my pocket knife at the 112 spiders I counted on the cabinet and the 6 flying bugs along the way. After that quick murder sesh, I find the other end of the burner, allowing me to torch the nests throughout the house and adding 8 bug swarms to the count. Like the rats in A Plague Tale, it's impossible to count every bug in a swarm, so we'll keep it simple here by counting a swarm as 1. With the nest cleared out, I can duck into the fireplace where I find the statue for the shadow puzzle and witness Mia get snatched up mid-apology by Lucas Baker. More concerned about my damn self, I go back the way I came, only to have Marguerite slam the door in my face.
Stay the fuck out!
Yeah, well, your food sucks. I incinerate another 110 spiders she left on the door for me and now have to worry about her wandering around the house unleashing her insect children on me while she verbally berates me.
Fucking shitcock! Show yourself!
Nobody talks to me like that, so I kill her stupid bug kids using the burner while avoiding her and exploring the house, grabbing the items I need to slowly unlock new ways forward and reading a note that confirms that Zoe is at odds with the rest of her family. Eventually, I grab the crow key, remembering a room back in the main house that needed it, so I run back there and obtain the grenade launcher. With that side quest complete, I head back into Marguerite's bug den where she jumps me near the crow door and throws me down the steps, sending me crashing through the floorboards with nowhere to run, which forces me to light her and her insects up with my burner. I increase my count by 8 before fuel runs out and I cap this encounter off with a shotgun to her face. She falls into the hole with me and receives some extracurricular violence until the hole fills with gunk and I climb out and enter the crow door where a little baby sleeps in its crib. Zoe calls up again asking about the serum, but all Ethan found was a way to synthesize it. Zoe claims to know where half of the ingredients are, sending me to search the rest of the house to find the other half. I find out through Marguerite's scribblings that what I'm looking for is in a secret room down the hall, but the only way to open that door up is by obtaining another lantern. Luckily old Marge dropped one when I blasted her, so I run back to the hole and witness one of the more unsettling moments of the game.
What the fuck? Well, that's special.
Not the exact terminology I'd use, Ethan, but sure. We follow Maggie Longarms to the greenhouse, where I add another 116 spiders to the count and get surprised by probably the most effective jump scare in the game. When Resident Evil 7 was still in its planning stages, producer Jun Takeuchi sent over a short test video to Capcom's Western offices to get a gauge on how a blind audience would react to their proposed direction. They filmed themselves watching it and the feedback was very positive, essentially giving them the green light to push Resident Evil into this new direction. Ethan shoots Marguerite in the head a couple times, prompting her to pull out of the window and begin the showdown, where we shoot her webby nether regions and fight off any bugs she sends my way. I end up getting overwhelmed by her bug swarms and falling to her long, creepy hands for my second death. When I reload, I ignore the spiders nearby and go right to the fight, killing 2 of her flying bugs before she ends up glitching during her escape attempt, allowing me to absolutely pummel her until she finally dies. I place her lantern to counterbalance the other one, opening up the door into a dark, creepy set of rooms that's clearly meant for a child. I find the secret crawl space housing the creepiest fucking doll in the world with the gooey D-series arm attached. The music picks up, prompting me to quickly turn around and spot a kid standing right outside. She scampers off as I approach, and now the molded wait for me to blast my kills up to an even 500. With perfect timing, Zoe calls again, saying she'll meet me in the trailer, but when I arrive, there's no one there except for another ringing telephone, but this time with the other Baker sibling on the other end. Lucas says he has both Zoe and Mia in his custody and that he'll give us the serum ingredient if we participate in his little game, like some sort of southern jigsaw. He has us look in the fridge where the deputy's half-molded head sits with a note telling us to go back to the dissection room in the basement. Great! The basement isn't exactly how he left it, containing a new version of the molded that's much faster but also weaker than its bipedal counterparts. We locate the cop's corpse and reach inside his neck hole to pull out the snake key and take out the rest of the molded down here before heading upstairs to discover the molded have also taken up residence in the main house. Once they've been dispatched, we go upstairs and open up the first snake door and ransack the room while Meemaw sits nearby. Eventually we set the bedside clock to the same time as the other clocks in the house, which opens up a passageway under the bed that leads us to our first keycard. The way shuts behind us, forcing us right back into the basement with more molded. With that done, I run to the other side of the house and open up the second snake door where Lucas's room is at. I find my way into his own little secret attic containing another videotape and the other keycard, and on my way out receive yet another phone call. Who even calls nowadays? Just fucking text me. Lucas excitedly tells me to stop by, but right outside are 2 more of the 4-legged molded. I head into the trailer and insert the happy birthday tape where we take over as Clancy Jarvis again. I didn't notice until this tape that it's spelled Clancy Javis, a mistranslation that was totally meant to say Jarvis. This tape sees Clancy go through a series of puzzles set up by Lucas Baker that are meant to maim and torture the poor guy. We watch a clown etch the word loser into Clancy's arm that's remarkably similar to Eddie Kasprak getting the same word written on his cast in It Chapter 1 about 8 months later. Finally, we complete each puzzle only for the cake to explode and ignite the oil spill near the start of the tape, engulfing the room and Clancy in flames. After watching that horrifying shit, we insert the keycards to enter Lucas's humble abode and get treated to an unhinged Lucas showing off the item we need while pulling fingernails off and yelling at an Evelyn off screen about how he likes the way things are now and doesn't want to go back to how things were. The TV explodes in our face and we're up on our feet again, free to explore. Lucas has rigged this place with traps, causing me to be extra cautious as I move around, ducking under and shooting traps, and triggering some by accident. Tripwires aren't the only traps around either. Some include the molded, with a new pukey variant entering the mix. It takes a lot more hits, but it dies along with its sludgy comrades before I head up the elevator and find a password pinned to a charred Clancy that allows me to enter the same puzzle room he was killed in. We have an advantage having watched that tape, allowing Ethan to skip the first step that spills oil all over the floor, but still willfully taking that exploding cake to the face for some reason. Lucas angrily says we were supposed to die and drops an explosive into the room, so I drop it in the busted wall and stand back until it opens a hole for me. I walk through my new doorway to find Lucas's hideout freshly abandoned with a security feed of Zoe and Mia. That gets interrupted by a salty Lucas who claims to have more in store for us, but once the TV cuts off, that's the last we see of him. He pops up again in the DLC though. I grab the other half of the serum ingredients and head outside and drop 7 more of the molded before freeing Zoe and Mia from their bindings. Zoe quickly creates 2 syringes full of serum right before Jack fucking Baker shows up yet again to start some shit. I shoot as many orange eyeballs until eventually he falls, but as I'm about to leave the barn, he snatches me up in one final attempt to kill me. Zoe yells at me to inject him with serum, turning him into a giant petrified dog turd. This is where Jack finally makes his exit, but still isn't dead as he shows up in the absolutely bonkers End of Zoe DLC. With that behind us, the game gives us a choice. Do we administer the 1 remaining vial vial of serum to Zoe, who has helped us along the way, or give it to Mia, who has tried to kill us and has done God knows what during her time here. I select the canon choice and inject it into Mia. While Zoe understands my decision, this still shocks and angers her, making things pretty awkward until we take the small boat into the swamp. Ethan questions Mia, who still claims she doesn't remember how this all began, but then we come up on a crashed ship referenced earlier and some giant molded tentacles that send us overboard. After some creepy child speak, we wake up as Mia and watch as Ethan is whisked away by the mold. We enter the ship and begin searching around, getting visions and reading wall messages that allow us to start piecing things together, with one vision segueing directly into a girl asking if we remember yet and gets angry saying we were supposed to be a family. For the time being, Mia is defenseless while the molded wander around. I clench my butt cheeks as I run by one of them to pick up the fuse I need to open the door that little asshole child shut behind her. I head up the stairs and find Evelyn engrossed in the finale of White Noise. I interrupt her and get told to watch the tape she set aside for me.
You need to remember, so we can be a family.
With all this talk about family, I'm thinking I'm about to watch Fast 5, and instead wake up 3 years prior in the midst of an incident. This fool Alan unleashed Evelyn on the ship and hands over her tissue samples as I head out in search of her. On the table to the left is a note revealing Mia wasn't just a simple babysitter like she let on, but an operative assigned as a caretaker for Evelyn. We're doing a piss poor job at it as Evelyn must have eaten something horrible.
She's vomiting.
Alan says we'll be seeing more of her ugly friends, and right on cue, the molded arrive looking to eat lead. I catch a glimpse of Evelyn dashing into the elevator, and as I pursue her, more of her so-called friends continue to show up and slow me down. Using my codex, I track that little shit to a room I'm unable to access, requiring some corrosive material to open up. With Alan's help, I locate some nearby and melt the lock, but she's nowhere to be seen inside. However, she can be heard and calls me mommy, which I'm not too fond of. She runs off again in the most annoying game of chase ever, adding 5 more molded to the count on my way to Alan, who makes the regretful choice of calling Evelyn a little bitch. She overhears his harsh words, making him puke up his charcoal-laced dinner, and puts me at a rest for a quick nap. I awake and plop down in front of the computer, recording the message to Ethan we saw at the very start of the game. Directly after that, Evelyn says some creepy shit again and rips the ship apart, ending the tape there and finally explaining how it ended up in the bayou near the Baker residence. We cut back to present day where Mia tells Evelyn she's a bit of an ass and she doesn't want to be her mom, prompting the girl to blow her stinky breath in my face before disappearing. Back to being unarmed, I need to be careful and not run into any molded on my way to locate Ethan's whereabouts. I find him encased in mold on the lower level, but the elevator is about as functional as my bowels, so I explore the ship searching for the components and get it active while uncovering various weapons to fight against the molded. I add 7 of them to the count, including one chunky boy, and then get the elevator working again and go down to the lower level where 5 more molded wait to be counted. I finally find Ethan and then flip back to his POV with Jack Baker advising us that he and his family are not killers. Evelyn corrupted them and turned them into the maniacs we faced. In an instant, we feel sorry for the Baker family, who were simply trying to help some strangers and instead get turned into some horrifying monsters. Credit to the writing team, Muramasa Sato and first-time Western writer to the series Richard Piercy for that brief moment that succeeded in humanizing the villains that we've been so terrified of up until this point. The vision ends when we listen to Mia and Evelyn arguing before Mia tears the mold off me and rushes me out the door while handing me Evelyn's tissue sample. If you chose to use the serum on Zoe earlier, this scene plays out differently, making you fight and kill Mia in one final spousal battle. Ethan deboards the ship and jumps right into a swamp where we see a chopper in the distant. Wait, what the fuck kind of camo is that? I continue onwards and find an abandoned outpost, making it clear that the Baker family was being watched by an unknown party. I listen in on the radio detailing their pursuit of Lucas Baker into the salt mines, which is exactly where I'm headed as well. Just need to eliminate the molded in the way first. I take the lift down into the mines, which winds up being the weakest section of the game for me. It's fairly linear, and the tense atmosphere isn't as present as Ethan is loaded up with weapons that let me kill a bunch more of the molded, bumping my kill total up to 570 by the time I leave the mines. There are underground labs that serve as a lore dump in here, showing that Lucas was working with a third party to spy on his family, providing updates on their progression into madness while also revealing that motherfucking grandma was actually Evelyn this whole time. There's even more notes detailing how the mold functions, formerly named the Mutamycete, and how their new fancy childlike bioweapon uses it to control people. Created using Evelyn's tissue sample, I pocket the necrotoxin and eventually leave the mines and enter the guest house where this fun little adventure began. Ethan faces a series of hallucinations until we find Evelyn in the attic and inject the toxin into her shitty little skin.
Why does everyone hate me?
Well, it's because you fucking suck, that's why. It can never be that easy though. As she melts away, she covers the room in mold and a face emerges from the wall. I shoot it a bunch and get launched outside to face off against an even larger version. After more shooting, I get a call on my codex with 2 simple words.
Use it!
alive!
I grabbed the gun to my right, aptly named the Albert 01, and used that to end Evelyn's reign of terror for good. She breaks into chunks and soldiers rappel down to my aid, with one in particular revealing himself as someone familiar.
I'm Redfield.
Bro, that is not Chris. Up in the helicopter, we find they were able to recover Mia as well, so Ethan takes her hand and monologues his way to the end as we catch a glimpse of the logo on the side of the chopper and we get the title card to cap it all off before we check the final numbers. I finished Resident Evil 7 with 571 total kills, with 22 of those belonging to Mia Winters. The insect kills will definitely inflate those numbers a bit, but hey, a kill's a kill. I ended with just 2 deaths, one to each of the Baker parents. This gives me my best kill-death ratio yet at an awesome 285.5. This game was terrifying, making it feel much longer than the 8 hours and 11 minutes it took to beat it. This gives us a kill on average every 0.86 minutes and a death just over every 4 hours. Resident Evil 7 revitalized the franchise while bringing it back to its roots. Many fans thought the series lost its identity after its foray into action with the Michael Bay-esque Resident Evil 6. I love this game and put it right up there as one of the very best horror games of all time. I can't imagine what it's like in VR. I think I would need a diaper if I ever attempt that. Next up, we continue Ethan's story in the most recent entry, Resident Evil Village. Let me know down below which horror game is your favorite, and please subscribe, like, and ring that bell so you don't miss future videos. I'm King Deschain, signing off for now.